right, Josiah, I want to start this podcast by asking you a question I ask every guest who appears on Spolitics, and that is name an athlete or a moment that made you love sports.
Athlete or moment made me love sports. Ooh, I'm gonna go. Ooh, that's a good question. There's so many. I'm trying to think. Moment athlete. I'm gonna go off the beaten path a little bit. I'm gonna go Ed O'Bannon, UCLA. So I was a ball boy at UCLA for the 94-95 year. Last time UCLA basketball won a national championship. A lot of time, my older brother Chris was on the team. So I got to spend a lot of time with the crew, pregame, rebounding for him, working with him. So to see Ed O'Bannon that season, and a lot of people know Ed from his NCAA lawsuit and all the things he's done in the aftermath for player likeness and NIL and all the stuff that you see now. But to see Ed that last year, know his story, everything he had been through, him leading that team to a national championship and ultimately sacrificing the rest of his career. He had bad knees, so he was constantly getting his knee drained that year, doing a bunch of stuff. But just to see him as a leader and what he was able to do with that squad, me as like a young, impressionable kid, almost a teenager. So I'd say that moment in my kind of teen life. And before that, younger than that, probably just Magic Johnson. Honestly, growing up in Los Angeles, seeing Magic, this larger than life figure, but always approachable, just a really great dude, and everything he had dealt with at that time. 1991. I think everybody remembers the announcement, kind of all the uncertainty around his health status, his future, what he was going to be. But just to see Magic still here, healthier than most of us, just to see that just another dude. But Showtime, Lakers era. My dad played for the Clippers, so we kind of were in the shadow of the Lakers. I was forced to be a Clippers fan growing up.
I love that you say forced.
Yeah, I didn't know any better. But slowly but surely, as a kid, you start to realize, like, wait a minute, like sports arena's always empty, ain't nothing really going on, and you got all this other stuff going on. I grew up near Inglewood, so everything that the Lakers impact that they had. So I say Magic in my early life, and Ed O'Bannon for kind of my preteens and or my teenage years.
Yeah, that team, because I'm of a certain age, I remember them vividly. Tyus Edney, trying to think of the guard, the freshman, light skinned cat, Toby Bailey. Yeah, Toby Bailey. Obviously, the O'Bannons, like that was a really really special team. As somebody who grew up here in LA, and for those who don't know, your father's Marques Johnson, what 5-time NBA All Star.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
listen,
know, but
I
I know.
know him beyond just Raymond from White Men Can't Jump.
But you're a professional, so I already know you did your
Yeah,
research. You
I had to
prep.
do a little digging, but I mean, I knew who he was, before then, and he is legitimately considered one of the best hoopers to ever come out of this area. Um, you know, you play ball yourself. You went to UCLA. You came up. You had your own hoops journey. Your father being such a big star around here, how did his accomplishments kind of impact how your basketball career was seen?
So I've got a bunch of brothers, and we all tell the story for a long time in my life. People that know me as Josiah. It was either little Marcus, or little Chris, who was my older brother. They both played at Crenshaw High School, won city championships. I want to say we're the first father and son in LA to be able to do that. So you kind of see it, but I was super young for the beginning of his career. He had a tragic neck injury, I believe 1985, 86. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old. Remember the game though, we're playing against the Dallas Mavs, and I remember he just didn't come home that night. And we were at the game. Everybody's kind of down, distraught, sad. And then for the next couple years, neck brace. He ended up, you know, messing up a lot of stuff in his vertebrae, was almost paralyzed, ended up battling through that. So the first real experience that I got to see with him in his pro career, he got a brief stint in Golden State with the Warriors in the 1989-90 season. This was right around the TMC time. So I want to say like Tim Hardaway was a second year player there. Chris Mullin was there. Mitch Richmond was there. But that was the first time I really got to be like immersed in NBA culture and world. And then in the aftermath of that, White Man Can't Jump, I believe, came out 1992-ish. So I was a part of the whole process with him from, reading lines. I got to see him. He was a method actor, so he didn't cut his hair or shave as he was embodying his Raymond character. Got to spend a little bit of time on set. My older brother Chris actually makes cameos in it. A lot of friends and people that we know. But everywhere we would go, you would just see the way that people would treat him and such the high regard they would have him in. And he's coaching my youth league teams and just, other coaches looking over just in awe of him. And every time he walks into a gym, just the whole room just stops and looks at him and all the love that he would get. So for us, there was a tremendous amount of pressure to be able to try to, attain and accomplish the status that he had as a professional athlete. But to his credit, he just wanted us to all be our own individuals, work hard and whatever you were going to do. He never really pushed us towards anything in particular. It's actually funny. He was So at UCLA, I think he majored in theater arts. So he used to do a lot of stuff in that space. So he would push us a lot towards the entertainment side. So even as a young kid, but he would push us in that. He would come make cameos in our little, third grade, fourth grade student films and things like that. But he always just wanted us to be the best human beings we could be. He pushed us towards basketball, of course. Was very tough on us to try to get us to where we wanted to be, just like his life was to get where he was. But I think ultimately, you start to get older, you start to realize, yeah, I'm probably not going to get to that level. I'm not going, there's only a few that have really been able to surpass the achievements of their fathers. You think about like Steph Curry, people like that. I look at Bronny now and it's like, I just imagine the pressure that Bronny's dealing with. And it's no shade to Bronny, but you are never going to be as good as your father. And I think that's what a lot of us have to come to realize. But again, to my dad's credit, he never forced us or pushed us or put that pressure on us. If anything, he tried to diffuse that pressure and that tension and just wanted us to be the best that we could be at whatever we did.
When it comes to content creation, you probably, I mean, you hold a lane that's so unique in sports, and you started a lot of trends in sports just based off how you approach using social media. So, what title do you prefer? Meme King, King of Sports Comedy, King of NBA Twitter? Like, what's your preferred title when it comes to what you do?
I'm gonna be real. I hate all that shit. I just like
Really?
Josiah. I mean, because I walk around places, and just so people know the context, my social media handle is King Josiah 54, right? Mirrored that after LeBron, who went as King James. Like when I was starting all this stuff, I'm like, let me just pick a name. Didn't really think much of it, but now when I walk into places like, "What's up, King?" or whatever, I always tell people like, I know who really knows me, who really doesn't, because people who really know me will call me Joe. So Joe, that's been my nickname. My mom nicknamed me Joey as a little kid. So people who really know me, family, friends, like, "What's up, Joey?" Like that's how they refer to me. So anytime I walk in somewhere and people are like, "What's up, King?" I'm like, okay, this person doesn't really know me. Like all love and respect, I appreciate it. So all that stuff is cool. Believe me, I've worked really hard, and it's great to see that people recognize that and appreciate that. But I'm just a regular dude. Like I pull up. Like I try to stay out the way. I just spend time with my family, do what I got to do. But to see the success that stuff has had, definitely appreciative of it. But I hate titles. So what I mean, producer, executive producer, whatever, creator, so many hyphens, I guess, hyphenate, whatever they call it. Like, I just like to do the work, grind, and see positive results from it.
But nevertheless, like your tweets, they get insane impressions. I mean, were there maybe a couple key moments that you think really exploded, or what were those key moments that allowed you to sort of take that moniker that you don't particularly like as becoming like the meme king of the NBA?
So I got to take it back. So I came up, went to UCLA, wasn't that good. I'll be the first to admit it. I think good, better than 99% of society, but the reality, rode the bench, kind of knew that basketball wasn't going to be in my long-term future. So started working in sports entertainment over at Fox Sports NFL Network, worked at NFL Network for a number of years. And while I was doing that, I started a blog called Jersey Chaser. And that for me was just like a creative outlet to get my thoughts out. I think at that time, there was kind of a control and dominance over sports media landscape where people weren't really respective of athletes and all the things that they put in to get to where they want to be. It was a lot of people who had never done it before, kind of just giving their opinions about the world and about the sports culture and things like that. So did that, built that up, ended up as a result of that getting a TV show on Comedy Central called Legends of Chamberlain Heights, animated series that was based on my experience with a couple of buddies of mine riding the end of the bench at UCLA. So that I thought, all right, cool. We're gonna be the next South Park. We're gonna be the next Trey and Matt. Like I'm gonna be a billionaire, all that stuff. Show ends up getting canceled after 2 seasons, and I'm kind of left in limbo, no man's land. I don't really have anything, as people as yourself, you work in this entertainment industry. When you hot, everybody wants to work with you. They love you. When you're not, them phone calls stop ringing, like, and you got to start figuring out life again. So I'm thankful and blessed to have a lot of different skill sets and things that I could do. And then I started just looking at social media. I'm like, well, for me, I kind of just got depressed after the show ended. Kind of got tired of dealing with kind of the corporate entertainment side of things, notes, calls, all that type of stuff. And I was like, let me just operate in a vacuum and build this thing up and figure it out. So was working at a company in NFL Network, different spots, writing articles, doing stuff on the company computers. Boss would come in, I have to X out of the screen real quick, act like I'm doing my NFL stuff. But slowly but surely, that stuff started to take off to the point where my boss at the NFL Network would be talking about articles from the website I posted under an alias, and I'm just sitting there cracking up like they got no idea that it's me doing this stuff. So that stuff took off, ended up leading to the show Comedy Central. That show gets canceled. I start doing social media kind of as a hobby at that point, like a lot of people. I'm just like, well, I can get my unfiltered thoughts out here. I don't have to get anybody's permission or approval. So I just started doing a lot of stuff in the meme space, and noticed I would watch shows like Game of Thrones, Insecure, see the communities that were built around those shows. Like Easter had the Easter Hive and the Lawrence Hive and all that stuff going on. And I'm just like, this is the future of content. This is the future of the world. And back in the days when Legends of Chamberlain Heights started, everything was, oh, we're gonna give you some billboards and you're gonna be in magazines and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking like, that's not how people engage or interact with content. I find out everything I find out through Twitter, through Instagram, through social media, and really see people born out of this thing, kind of non-traditional stars, if you will, that have grown out of this whole world in this lane where they can control their destiny with what they do. So I just really started hitting it hard, really started looking at memes. And for me, like growing up playing basketball, being in locker rooms, like it was always getting the jokes off. And you had to know pop culture, you had to know sports culture, you had to know everything to be able to kind of hold your own and survive amongst the sharks in the locker room where everybody's clowning each other or whatever it may be. So I use meme culture to really grow. And I think the first kind of pivotal moment for me, I won't forget this, like Antonio Brown had bounced around for like two or three different teams, like the Patriots, the Raiders, whatever, like, if you remember those times. So I did a Get Out meme of him seeing Josh Gordon at the Patriots facility. Like, I think the Raiders had released him. He made that video, I'm free, whatever, running around the house. So he goes, and at that time, Belichick coached the Patriots way. Everybody kind of knew what it was. Josh Gordon had been there for a while. So I had a scene from Get Out, when the main character sees the Keith character at that little like get together gathering, whatever. He tries to dap him up and gets, he gets the handshake. So I made a video of that. Jordan Peele ended up seeing it. And then Jordan Peele, idol of mine, had Key and Peele at Comedy Central at that point. And I always tell people this story kind of just as a motivational tool for them. Like, me and Jordan Peele both had a TV show at the same network. If I would have went to my agents like, yo, can you give me a meeting with Jordan Peele? They would have pretended like they were going to do it. It would have never happened. I would have got, oh, we reached out to his team. He wasn't available, blah, blah, blah. But through that thing, he quote tweeted the video, said, "You win, Josiah." Like, I made a T-shirt out of it. Like, took a screen grab of the tweet. Still got the shirt in my closet at home. You win, Josiah ended up following me. We DM back and forth, talked and communicated and connected. And that was kind of the first real time I realized that the power that social has. And then obviously a lot of people now remember like LeBron, calling me the king or whatever it may be. I think that was 2021, if I'm not mistaken, during the playoffs. Again, similar situation. I think the Nets are playing in the playoffs. Bruce Brown kind of took some crazy shots. So I throw up a Harlem Nights video. Stop shooting that little, but just as a kid growing up, I would see all this stuff, and I loved entertainment, I loved media, I loved content. So that then getting like the cosign from LeBron at that point, like really kind of put me on the map. But it's funny, like before that, I had already created a TV show for Comedy Central and done a bunch of stuff. So people would look at that and be like, "Oh, that's when you really got put on." Like, no, I'd been doing it, but that was like, all right, I'm here now. It really just showed me the power of social and the ability that it has to help elevate and grow you as a human being in your personal life, your career. And as you know now, like you can't really walk in the door of a network or whatever. First thing they're looking at is your following, what kind of engagement you have, and how you can move the needle in culture without having to rely on whatever resources they have. Like, can you build this up yourself? Can you really go out and do it? So I'd say the Jordan Peele moment really kind of showed me, all right, I can do this. Like, wow, like this is like I can really like somebody I idolize and has a similar kind of trajectory and story as me, get their attention. And then the LeBron thing was like, all right, I'm gonna go just all in on this. And this is during the tail end of the pandemic. We all still are kind of just reeling from that, figuring out what life is and trying to get back to it. But in that pandemic moment, I really was like, I'm just gonna hit it with this. This is the one thing I can do that nobody else can control. And now I've seen a ton of success from it. And it's funny, those same people who, I'm not gonna say I left Comedy Central on the best terms, but those same people now see me like, oh man, we always believed in you. We knew you could do it. And I'm like, you would have used me as a cautionary tale if you could. You would have been like, see what happens when you act up. See what happens when you talk back or you try to. Nah, this is so. I just kind of laugh at all that now, but it's given me a sense of humility and made me super humble in everything I do. So when you asked earlier, like, what do you like to be called? I'm like, just call me Josiah. Like, I don't roll in like I'm the king of social media. Like, that's just, I'm just saying, like, I
Yeah.
see so many people that do that. And I think it's like an insecurity they have and just not believing in their achievements. I roll in t-shirts, shorts, like, and some chucks. That's that. Anywhere you see me, that's what I'm going to be rocking.
Now, what's your process for like sort of finding the perfect meme?
I have so much stuff just sitting in my head, and just like I'll randomly quote stuff
You
as
got
I'm.
shit saved in like drafts, like, ooh,
So I normally, like, I'm so basic, and I'm looking at like AI and all this stuff now, and I'm just like, I know I'm gonna be phased out soon because I just can't get down like Grok and all this other stuff. I see Chat GPT, and I'm just like, no, I just have it in my brain. So when I see things happen, like I'll see it in like meme form, and it's like it might be a moment in a game or whatever it is. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of Don't Be a Menace. So that reminds me of, I'm really heavy in my era, like John Singleton films. Obviously, the Wayans family. I actually went to junior high school with Damon Wayans Jr. So Living Color era, all that stuff, like that's what I grew up on. So all that stuff just like festering in my brain, those memories. And for me, it's like just to stay connected to that material, stay connected to that time in my life. But I tell people like I didn't grow up in the SpongeBob era, so y'all got all the SpongeBob stuff y'all got. That's not my lane. Like, and I'll never, I'm always gonna be true to myself. But everything that is from my era, like that '90s, early 2000s, all those experiences, I just see stuff and it's like, oh, this reminds me of this or that, and I'll quickly just try to get it up. And like you said, a lot of people now have gravitated toward this space. A lot of them haven't paid their dues or paid their tithes, as I like to say, and they just try to kind of mirror and copy it. But there's always a secret sauce to it. I think a lot of people just don't grasp in terms of how to connect with people and how to get it in that right moment, in the exact time, in the caption, the wording, and everything. The exact clip, when to get in on the clip, when to get out on the clip. So much that goes into it that I think people don't really appreciate, that they think they can replicate. And it's just funny to see kind of, I won't call them copycats because I appreciate, it's very flattering, but it's also like nothing makes me madder when somebody tried to do it and they do it wrong. And I'm like, you could have just like you're trying to copy the sauce and you just don't got it.
You could have just left it alone.
Just leave it alone or ask permission, be like, hey, because people know, like, I'm always like, I embrace everybody. Like, yo, should I do it like this, that, whatever? And it's funny, I got a lot of people that we know. I'll see them do stuff sometimes. I'm like, just do it like that. I'll just hit them in the DM, like, yeah, you almost had it, but just do it like that. They go do it, and it goes viral, and it's like, oh man, so I'm gonna say I'm ghostwriting, but it just irks me when I see some shit. And I'm like, yo, if you just did that, it would have been perfect. Like, so it is what it is.
Well, we know one of the conversations that we constantly have, especially around content creation, and you're a perfect example of this, is that notice how these team Twitter accounts are the language they use now,
Yeah.
and they're doing what you're doing, right? Or trying to. Some of them make very bad attempts. For Black creators, that has been a sore spot. Is that taking your genius, taking your excellence, and then trying to copy it and doing it worse. Like, what's your perspective on that, and the fact that like we often see how the culture is like sort of robbed in this way?
So I'm gonna take you back, 2020. George Floyd situation goes down, and I'm working a lot in Hollywood at that time, and I had a lot of what I call the George Floyd general meetings, where at that point people kind of finally realized, like, damn, this is really fucked up. Like, we're not giving Black creators, Black culture this opportunity, and kind of did these performative meetings where it's like, we really want to hear your thoughts, and we believe in you, and we want to. And I realized, like, damn, I'm a lot of white people's only Black friend. Like, a lot of white people in this industry, like I'm really your only Black friend. So I kind of, I want to say I lost my mind at that point, but really just got disappointed, like grew my hair out, didn't shave for a long time. So I would take these meetings, probably looking like my dad as Raymond and White Man Can't Jump, just looking crazy because like I don't believe any of this shit. And then there was a point too where you had all these social teams and they would post pictures of their whole team,
Man,
and I'm just looking like
everybody white.
and like I hear the way you guys talk, and then I see you in real life, and you don't talk the way that you talk in real life. Like if there's one thing about me, I'm gonna be consistent. Like way I speak on social is the way I'm gonna speak when you see me. So it felt like again you were kind of just robbing and taking the culture, and that's like a sad thing. And even I don't use TikTok, but you see the world where, there was a couple years ago where a couple of Black creators came up with dances and were doing stuff. Then you look at All Star Weekend, they got the white creators kind of doing it offbeat and not hitting it like they need to. And then eventually they kind of obviously repaired that, brought the Black creatives, the Black dancers in to kind of come do it correctly. But you just see how people, and this isn't anything new, right? They've eaten off this culture, benefited from it, and again, not putting anything back in the offering plate. And yes, Black culture is amazing. Like, and I'm not mad that people want to do that. Like, who wouldn't want to see that and want to be like it? But it also comes to a point too where you can't be tone deaf with it, right? You got to be respectful. You got to give these people, especially with everything going now in the world. And we talk about merit based. Well, that's a term I don't really get down with because we've seen what it is in real life. We've seen if two candidates have the same exact resume. If one's name is hard to pronounce, they're probably not going to get that gig. If one person looks like somebody else, they look like the person hiring, they're more likely going to get that gig. So I think, we talk about the need for diversity, but it's not diversity like we want handouts. Like we just want acknowledgement and recognition for the things that we're doing. And I used to see so many creators that I knew and respected that will blatantly just get their content jacked by these big accounts. And we've seen it, entertainment accounts, gambling accounts, all these type of things that try and talk like the culture. And then you look at their social media director and this person and that person, And I'm like, you are a square. You are not like you don't speak like this. So, and the fact that you're doing this, putting on digital blackface, like that's something I really feel disrespected by. But also like we just got to continue grinding, doing what we got to do to get to where we need to be, and hopefully to get some more equity in these spaces.
uh, your foray into entertainment, I guess, for people who know a little bit about your background, in a way, is really not that surprising. I read this about you, the fact that you sort of grew up being exposed to like the different worlds said, and really kind of early on getting exposed to entertainment. What did those early experiences? How did that shape how you felt your place in the industry would be?
So there's one major or moment or series of moments. So my dad played for the Clippers. His teammate Norm Nixon, Norm married to Debbie Allen. Debbie, the showrunner of a Different World at that point. So very close family friends. My mom used to be an extra on A Different World. So she's in
What?
a so there's like the Patti LaBelle Christmas episode. But so Mrs. Allen would always make my mom featured in these things. And there's points she's like pregnant with one of my little brothers in these things, different stages of her life, but she's always popping up in the background. So as kids, I went to the same elementary school as Norm and Debbie's kids. So we would get picked up and then we would get taken over to the studio, like on Thursday, Friday, I forget whatever day they taped. So I would spend a good portion of my life just watching this show. And I think not really appreciating at that point in my younger life, because at that point you had the Cosby Show, you had Different World, you had all these shows that were dominating network television, and me just thinking that was normal, right? Not realizing now that that was not to say an anomaly, but that wasn't.
It was
Yeah,
maybe not for LA.
yeah.
I'm like, listen, most of us growing up to watch A Different World, we couldn't imagine a life where we would actually be on set.
Watching the HBCU, and I'm just like, oh, this is normal. And then
Yeah,
you get older, you kind of realize what it is. But to see the way that Debbie Allen, she would be the voice of God. She'd be in the control room, but you'd have the studio audience there, and she's just voice of God and onto the set, telling everybody where they need to be and places and boop boop, and just doing all that stuff, and just seeing her in the regular life, and then kind of realizing how incredible and amazing entertainer and all her achievements, but getting to just spend time on those sets and also learning too that a lot of people just watch these shows and I don't think they realize the time, energy, effort that goes into actually making these things, the hours that you spend doing it. So I remember, vividly the wedding episode where obviously Whitley's supposed to marry, Senator, if I'm not mistaken, and obviously Dwayne Wayne comes in, and so I'd seen that,
you
you know,
saw them actually do it.
live
Oh wow!
8 weeks, 3 months before the episode came out, and
So
just
you were
knowing
sitting on the big spoiler.
because they would let me, because I was with her, I kind of got a little bit more carte blanche to kind of just roll around. I would get bitched at and cussed out by people in the crew at times, like what you doing over here, or whatever. But so I'd pick up scripts, read, and kind of watch along with all the stuff that was going on. But I would know 8, 12 weeks in advance what was going on these shows, just because my mom was an extra. And if you watch that episode, my dad's a part of like the groomsmen, like my mom's an extra in there, like
Oh, that's right.
so you see him roll off like
Okay.
you like so my dad kind of chunky at that point, got the beer, but so we were all just like immersed in that world. And like I said, White Man Can't Jump, and dad did a bunch of cameos on LA Law and Sinbad show. So I used to go there and hang out on set with like a young Ray J who was on Sinbad show and just watch all these things get made and created. So I always had an affinity for that world. And then obviously as I got older in life, got to actually do it, but really appreciate what went into making that, kind of just understanding that that really kind of guided the culture. And now that I take a step back and look at it, it's like, wow, like, I got to really hang out with Debbie Allen, just know her as a regular, see her in her regular life at birthday parties and school events and things, and then see her as a showrunner of one of the greatest television shows I feel like in history. So,
It holds up incredibly well. I still watch it whenever I can,
yeah.
at least multiple times a week, and it's amazing to me just again how well that's aged. You are so versatile in so many things that you do. A lot more I definitely want to get to you with, and also some NBA stuff I want to ask you about. But we're gonna talk about Gils Arena as well
Well,
because
let's do it.
y'all be on there fooling. One of the roles I really enjoy you in is you happen to play Ernie Johnson on Gils Arena.
Yeah.
Now, Gils Arena is a podcast that you have. Gilbert Arenas is what? Brandon Jennings, Kenyon Martin, Lexi Brown, Cheryl Spooks, Rashad McCants. Personalities, like big, big, bold personalities. And you guys are hilarious. Y'all also crazy, but you
Yep.
guys are very hilarious. But just tell me a little bit about how Gils Arena came together.
Also, got to give Swaggy P some love
Oh,
too.
Swaggy P, duh.
Yeah,
How could I
but
forget
no,
him?
but
Sorry about
I'm
that.
sorry. I make sure. Look, I love that crew, and so me and Gil, our working relationship started. I've known Gil we were actually the same age. He's born in January, I'm born in April, but he was a year older in high school. So that's one thing about Gil. I don't think people realize that you talk about this holdback culture nowadays where kids stay back. You know, you got 18, 19,
Hmm.
20-year-old seniors in high school. I want to say Gil was like 17 years old as a graduating senior in high school, was 17 when he went to U of A. And one thing about Gil, he was kind of like under the radar. Like my dad always tells this story. He heard the name Gilbert Arenas, didn't see the face, so he thought he was a Mexican basketball player. And he was like, I would always see these newspaper articles. I'm like, who's this Mexican dude that's out here putting up 40, 50 Arenas like Gilbert? And then he finally kind of saw him in college and realized who he was. So we had always, I went to high school in the Valley. Gil went to high school in the Valley. So I transferred from Crenshaw my junior year. Gil was, I think, in his senior year at Grant. But the thing back in those days was the Daily News. They had a great high school sports section. LA Times had a great high school sports section. But you knew if you played the same night that Gil played, they would do the top scorers like, oh, I'm not going to be the top scorer tonight. It don't matter what I do. I could drop 40. He's going to drop 50. I could drop 50. He's going to drop 60. It just is what it is. So he built up a name and reputation for himself. So we ended up just coincidentally, I moved literally like 2 blocks away from him. So around like this about 2016, right around when Legend of Chamberlain Heights was taking over, me and my wife moved to Woodland Hills. So I would, during the pandemic, I would go jog around the neighborhood. That was like my only release. I'd gotten really kind of down and depressed at that point. Legend that got canceled. This was when I was first kind of doing social media, but I ballooned up to close to like 400 pounds. Pandemic happens. My wife, my family kind of politely are like, look, you need to get your fat ass in shape. Like this thing is
I'm sure
attacking
they said
people's
it a
lungs.
little more
Oh no, my
delicately.
brother's gonna be real. Like,
Oh,
yo, you
really?
like, yo, Joe, you fat dog. Like, get it together. So I'm close to like 400 pounds. So I would just start go jogging around the neighborhood, and at that point, it was felt like third world country out here. You go to Ralph's and be 30 people in line, and they let in two at a time, and no toilet paper. I'm just thinking in my head like, what y'all need all this toilet paper for? Like, y'all were never doing this before. Like, why paper towels and toilet paper became the thing that everybody
I know.
like thought that they
It
needed
was
to
the same
hoard.
with the Rouse about me. It was just like, wow, we're really here now. We're on food. Like when they were only allowing you to get like one pack of meat
Yeah,
per household.
you
It was
know.
just like, dog, what? It's crazy.
And you would roll in there and you see paper towels and toilet paper and be like, oh my God, like, oh. But then you understood why they hoarded it. My bad for hitting the mic. You understood why they hoarded it. But so around that point, I would go run around the neighborhood. So I would see Gil all the time. And we would kind of just say what up to each other. I'd be mid jog, but he'd come through in his Maybach minivan. And we constantly would bump into each other. So fast forward, it ended up he was looking for a new host for a show, No Chill. My agent connected us. We just kind of hit it off right away. So we started doing No Chill, saw a ton of success for that. But for him, he was always like, man, I want to do more. And the thing I say about Gil, what makes him so successful is Gil doesn't approach this like traditional media, traditional talent. Traditional talent can be a pain in the ass. They don't want to work. They don't want to do. They just want to do the bare minimum. Hey, my show is on from 1 to 2. I'll be here at 12. Like I'm leaving at 2:05. Where Gil is more like a Kai Cenat like streamer. Like I'm on. Like we do our show. We do a 2.5 to 2 hour 45 minute show, no commercials. Which I tell people by comparison because I grew up working in sports entertainment, sports television. That's like a 4 hour TV show with the commercial breaks and all that stuff
That's
built
a
in.
lot.
So we don't stop. Like
Yeah.
we started about 11:30, 11:40. We be on CP time. Like it is kind of what it is. Chad always gets mad. Y'all not ready? Like, look, this is Gil. And the crazy thing is, we filmed this in Gil's house in his basement, and he's usually the last one to come down. But it's like when he does, he's on. But he'll come down after doing a 3 hour live stream on his own personal channel or doing, 2, 3 hour workout with his kids, like his son Elijah McDonald's All American, who just committed to SC. His older daughter Isella, who's, standout high school player this ever at Louisville, and he's got a couple young ones too that are going to be doing the same thing, following that trajectory. So he kind of handles all his responsibilities, but locks in to do the show. So we started that show February 2023. Didn't really know what it was going to be. We're kind of just figuring it out. But the thing I love about Gil is Gil himself is a guy who couldn't really get on in mainstream media. I kind of compare him all the time to Pat McAfee, who's a friend of mine, somebody I look up to. But I'm like, Pat's a punter. If he goes to ESPN, he goes to these networks before he has any success. It's like, bro, you a punter, dog. Like, same with Gil. Gil had a tremendous amount of success in his NBA career, but not, he's controversial. Obviously, had situations going in his life when he was with the Wizards. So he kind of had this stigma around him where he wasn't ever going to get those opportunities. So he had to go create and take those opportunities, similar to what Pat did. So we started the show, and right away, he's like, I don't want, traditional people on this show. I want, Rashad McCants, who we had on the episode of No Chill. He was great on that episode. I think they ended up Gil. So Gil has a gym in his house, but he goes and works out at LA Fitness So him and Shy used to always see each other at LA Fitness, and they would just, be shooting the shit and talking. But he's like, I want Rashad, Brandon Jennings, who lives right down the street from us. Like, I want to get BJ on the show. I want to get, Swaggy, who they have their relationship, their dynamic, which is like, it's Swaggy was Gil's rookie when they were together, and they still operate like that. But just to see those two dudes when they get together, and I don't think a lot of people realize, for as crazy as you think the show is, like the group chat, like those dudes, that they don't turn anything on. That's what it is. Like if anything, the cameras start rolling, but they've already been in the middle of arguments and shit that we'll just bring to the show. Bringing on Lexi Brown, who's done an amazing job, still playing obviously WNBA. Cheryl Swoops, who arguably the GOAT, bringing her perspective. Just a unique crew of minds. Everybody has so much to offer from their experiences. You talk about a guy like Brandon, who was a trendsetter going from high school to Italy, not going the traditional college route. Rashad won a national championship at North Carolina, dating Kardashians, all that type of thing. And the reputation he has versus when you actually just sit down and meet and just understand how smart and creative and, kind of the narrative about him before you meet him, then you just sit and talk with him and like, yo, this dude is really just like high level intelligent. He's basically, we call it the Joker to Gil's Batman. So he loves nothing more than, and sometimes I don't even think he believes in shit, but if Gil says go left, he's going to say, no, go right. And they're just going to butt heads and go at it. And I kind of always make the joke, we have a good show if one of them is sweating. Now, if both of them are sweating because they're just going at each other, that's a recipe for great television. But we've been able, and when we started this thing, we had a vision of where we wanted to be, where we wanted to go. And I really salute Underdog, who came in and was like, look, we're going to let y'all rock out. Shout out Tim Livingston, who's a VP of content over there, Jeremy Levine, one of the founders. Like, you guys be you. Like, and working in this game, it's like, Jemele, we want Jemele, but then it's like, oh, we don't want that Jemele, though. Right. Like, you can't. Yeah, but can you?
It's levels to how much they want of you.
Can you say it like this? And like, yeah, but who? And for us, like, we don't have any restrictions, any limitations to an extent. Obviously, we have held that line and pushed it. And for me, in my regular life, I'm a jokester, kind of, don't really take anything serious. I've had to adapt more of the Ernie Johnson kind of straight man here because I tell people, like, if I go out there and be my normal self, this shit is going to be way too turned up and crazy, and we will not get anything accomplished. So I got to kind of be, I don't even say the adult, but like the point guard in the room, make sure everybody's getting involved, make sure everybody's getting their points and their takes across. And I think for us, when we started this thing, we wanted to be the cure for the common show. That was kind of the moniker rallying cry. And I think we've accomplished that. Now here we are almost 2 years into it. We're in our third season right now. Whole Cash has got extensions recently. And I think for as much as people see Gil's front-facing, public face, I mean, Gil's super loyal dude. Like if Gil rides with you, he's going to ride with you till the wheels fall off. Supports his crew, supports all the talent on the show, supports me. Like, it's funny. So Gil has a phone that doesn't take incoming calls. So he calls you, you don't pick up, you can't call Gil back. So he'll call me sometimes. If I missed it, I got to text him like, I'm by the phone now, Gil. Like, you can hit me. But he'll call me 12 at night.
Wait, how does one get a phone that doesn't take incoming calls? And I want to find this phone.
Well, as he explains it, at the height of his career, when he was making a lot of money, a lot of people were hitting him up for money and to bother him and all those type of things. So he was like, nah.
I understand why.
Yeah.
But I wonder, how do you get the phone?
You get to a certain status. I'm not quite there yet.
Okay,
you got get 100 M's. You
Duly
can.
Noted.
You can
get
get
to Gilbert Arenas. Make sure that you ask him, how did you get the phone?
So you try to call Gil like you just wasting your time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's family included, whoever. But he hits me up and we just go over ideas, content. And like I said, he's just kind of a mad scientist genius in terms of how he put this whole crew together. And I think all of us are like super appreciative of just, A, the opportunity, but B, I see how hard Gil works. So I'm literally, this schedule is basically, so I'm producing the shows along with our showrunner, Steve Martinez, and Baron Dam, our other producer. But we're going till 2 a.m. And on the days I got to produce a show, so we do the show 11:30 to 2:30. I coach high school basketball. I coach my kids. So I'll do all that stuff, knock out my family obligations, come back, watch the games up till 2 a.m. building the show because Gil wakes up at 4:30 in the morning. So I have to have the show lined up for him when he wakes up to go back, review everything, make it good. He'll call me if he don't like something, take it out, or he got a great idea, let's do this, or, I'm going to say it like this, Dad. We'll just kind of constantly go back and forth. And then following that same formula recipe, and this is 7 days a week. We're on Monday through Thursday, but it don't stop because we're either talking, we got a group chat with everybody on the show in it. That's, a little too hot for TV, but that's where the best stuff goes down. Because it could be any point in the day. It could be something somebody said 3 weeks ago, and it's like, yeah, remember when you said this? And then just, I'll open the phone sometimes, it'd be like 100 text messages back and forth, dudes just going at each other and getting it. But I think that's the secret to making the show so successful, because these people aren't changing. They're not switching up when the camera turns on. Whatever's on their mind at that particular moment, they're gonna say it. Controversial. I know we got a lot of players that are mad at us. A lot of people that are critical of what we do. But I think they also got to recognize at the end of the day, these are former players. These are guys who've experienced it. And I go back to a moment for us, Zion, summer of 2023, kind of, I don't say put our show on the map, but like we were taping episodes of Summer League in Vegas. Gil, but Gil always, I think, very complimentary guys, but has experienced that. So Gil will tell you about life on the road, tell you going to the Four Seasons, eating 2 double cheeseburgers and 3 milkshakes, and what his pregame routine and ritual was. So he was very sympathetic to Zion. So we were having a convo about Zion at the Blue Wire studio at the Wynn. There's a big glass partition thing, so you can see everybody coming in and out. 10 seconds later, Zion walks up. No clue, looks at us. Oh, there they go right there. Fucking rolls in. And he had some situations going on at that time. I'm sure people, obviously, you can Google what was going on around 2023 for Zion in that summer, but comes on the show for 20 minutes. He's got a handler with him trying to get him to leave. And, like you try to book a guest, you try to get talent, that comes with strings. You can't ask about this. You can't do that. You can't say this. And this was like Zion, like, nah, I want to talk to these dudes. He came up right behind Gil, like hands on shoulders, kind of put him in the vice grip. But a very like polite, professional way. Ended up sitting us for 20 minutes, and that was kind of one of the first moments that showed us that athletes watch this thing. Like, what I mean, I'm rolling around the Wynn. I don't think people know who I am. I'm seeing all these guys who I look up to, all these NBA players. And they're like, man, what's up? We love the show, like whatever. So it let us know that we were doing something special. And like I said, we've been blessed to all get extensions. We're going to be doing this thing for the coming years, but really putting that show on the map. And we look at kind of traditional shows, not even necessarily as our competition, but they can't do what we do.
Yeah.
I watched SportsCenter back in the day.
Oh, you
SportsCenter
already
6,
know. Yeah, no.
but you got an A block.
Y'all are not an ESPN show. Definitely not.
You got an A block, you got a B block, you got a C
Totally.
block. So
It's a structure.
we got
Yeah.
10 minutes for this block.
Yep.
We will go 45, 50 minutes, hour. We will go on a topic, and I'll try and keep it moving. And the chat's always coming at me like, oh, man, you got to moderate better, whatever. And it's like, you need to understand the personalities that I'm dealing with, because I will try to move on, and I know that they're not going to move on. If Gil got a point he want to make, if Shy got a point he want to make, Kenyon or Brandon or Lexi or Cheryl, whoever, we're not moving on. Like, I'm going to try, hey, let's talk about this topic now. Wait, what was that you said about whatever? And now we're going 20 more minutes on it. So we have a structure, like we formatted like a traditional kind of sports network style. That's what I grew up in. That's what I was born in when I started my career. But also knowing we have the luxury and ability that an ESPN show or a Fox show can't, because we don't have a 10-minute, we don't have to get to a commercial break. We can go an hour on this thing if we want. And for me, that's the best convo when we show up and it's something that wasn't even in the script or in the game plan, production plan for the day, but they're passionate about it. And they go 30, 45 minutes, and now you look up and it's like, damn, we had 3 more segments we were supposed to get to, but it's time to go, because obviously, somebody got to pick up their kids, or I got to go to practice, or Gil got to go to one of his kids' games or whatever it may be. But we don't have any rules or regulations and no constraints on it. So I'll really just give a shout out to Underdog for allowing that. And Gil, like, I see how hard Gil works. So, I'm up till 2 a.m. every day, but I know he's up. He's lurking. Like, he's in the Google Doc. I see his icon light up, or he's calling me or texting me. I go jog before the show. He'll call me. I'm on the jog with him, just having the convo with the headphones in. We're going over everything. So just the amount of dedication, preparation, and work that he puts in. And I think we all feed off that, from the talent to the crew. And I think that's why the show has been so successful.
And watching this show, even though every 5 minutes I'm like, such and such is crazy, what I love about it is the authenticity. As you mentioned before, you've had players that gave you positive feedback, and because y'all keep it so real, I imagine you've gotten the opposite, because y'all do keep it really real. So what are some of the, I guess, memorable maybe encounters or negative feedback that you've gotten from players?
Well, there is, again, like you said, we keep it very real. There are certain cities now that I feel like we are not allowed to pull up to. Not me, like
you
but
probably could.
like Detroit City.
Yes, I know.
Gil has gone above and
like, why he always coming for us?
And the thing you got to understand about Gil is relentless, right? So
Yes.
if somebody comes to him, like, he's not going to back off. Like, you've seen it, kind of some of the personal beefs that he may have. Like, he's never going to end it. Like, that's just not in his.
Brown, right? Yeah.
That's just not in his makeup. And like, I got a ton of respect for Kwame, and there'll be times on the show I know he's trying to get there, and it's like, but it don't matter what I say. Like, I'm trying to avoid it, and it's like, all right, go ahead. He'll say, "Yeah, I had this, that, or whatever." Like, "Yo, I know where you're going with this right now," and it's like, I don't want no beef with that. Like, I got to live here too. I tell him all the time, I got to walk around these places too, and I ain't trying to, I love y'all. Like, we had a situation. He talked about. So he had said something to when Isaiah Stewart had came out after LeBron. Gil posted this message on Instagram and basically just saying like you can't do that. Like you gotta like what I mean. This is the golden boy of the league. You gotta pretend fight. You can do all that stuff, but like don't go at him. So we were in Tacoma at Isaiah Thomas's charity event this weekend. Who's there? Beef Stew. Beef Stew see Gil. And you see Beef Stew in real life, you're just like, shit. And it's kind of like, all right, it's gonna be a business decision right here. Cause it was like me, Rashad, a couple of us standing there, and it's like, you know, and believe me, like I have hands. I know how to fight a little bit, but I'm gonna get my ass whooped. And I'm also
At the
realistic.
very least, I mean, you got to reach, dog. Like you're not a small person.
But seeing him, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like fuck. All right, but they kind of talk it out.
Okay,
Gil,
okay.
but after that, like Gil don't let it stop. He goes and makes videos talking about. He goes and whatever. Like Gil's such a creative and content maven that anything he sees an opportunity to address or talk about, he's gonna keep it real on anything. But yes, we have had. To answer your question long-winded, I know I speak a lot, but we have had several players who let it be known, either via social media or in real life, that they're not necessarily fucking with the views that are expressed on the show. I walk around, and it's funny because I got to walk around now. Like if I'm at Summer League or All Star Weekend or these type of things, see a guy and be like, "Damn, did somebody come at him?" No, okay, we good. What
Yeah,
up,
you
dog? How you doing?
think, right? Like,
Because
did we say something that?
it's never me, but yeah, guys will you'll see them kind of lurking in the comments of videos. Obviously, Brandon Jennings has said some things about Jason Tatum recently that getting a response, and Tatum's trainer and Tatum coming at him directly and indirectly. And it's like, yeah, but that's not everybody on the couch. But ultimately, somebody's got to beef with, you
With
know,
somebody, yeah.
somebody's rocking with him. This person
But
don't.
in a weird way, though, do you take it as a compliment?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That they see it. Like,
yeah, that they see it, care about what you said enough to respond.
yeah. And I think for us, we're really starting to see when we first started, people kind of just thumb their nose at us. We don't give a shit about this show. It's not going to be nothing. To now where we're on ESPN, we're on these clips. Like Gil recently had his son Elijah announce his college commitment to USC, much to my disappointment. I was working the phone trying to get him over UCLA, but no, in all sincerity, man, love Elijah, super happy for him. But watching Sports Center, and it's like that's like the G block or the end of the show. They got to show a clip from our thing. So we've started to really see the power that we possess in being kind of this new media. And now, initially, when we first started, like, oh, we don't have to acknowledge you guys. And now you got to come over here, right? And now you got to look at us and respect the work we're doing, the numbers we're doing, and the impact we have on the culture. Like for me, like I'm a low key dude. I stay out the way. Like I coach little league, I coach youth sports, I coach high school. If you want to see me, come to the local Target. Right around like 2:30, 3:30. Like you'll see me just doing my shopping or whatever's going on. But I'm not really on the scene or in the streets or doing any of that type of stuff. But just started to notice over the past year, 18 months, I would just like I'm at the airport one day, flying to LAX. It's late at night. I'm rolling to get my car out of the parking structure. I see a police officer. He got a headphone in, me mugging, straight face, just looking straight. Like, I'm not going to bother this dude. I'm just going to keep going about my way. He turned to look at me. He's like, yo, I'm listening to the show right now. Like, I'm like, wow. Like, you really just, I'm rolling through Philly airport, past like a Geno's or a Pat's, and they got the one at the airport cheesesteak. But all the chefs see me come through. They chopping up cheesesteak. Like, yo, what's up, man? We roll with Gil. Tell Gil stop being so crazy. I was in Sacramento for a high school tournament, and he's been very obviously same way as Detroit, very we'll say disrespectful, if you will, of the city, but rolling through Sacramento, getting rolled up on people like, yo, tell Gil stop disrespecting the city, man. Like, so just to see that, even like high school kids, I coach them high schoolers, and they be like, yo, coach, we see you on TikTok all the time. I'm like, I don't even got TikTok. What do y'all see on there? Oh, we see clips from the show and this and that, whatever. And it's like, why Gil do this, that? So just to see the impact that it's had on basketball culture. But with that comes a lot of responsibility, right, in how we move. And I think we're all kind of figuring this out as we go and learning and growing from it. But if there's one thing that you know with Gil, his literal nickname, his moniker is No Chill.
It's no chill.
And
Yep.
he lives that up to the
Yep.
fullest extent. So I don't know whatever definition of no chill you had in your brain, but he's going to take it to another level and truly have no chill.
Yeah, he embodies that. Well, before I let you go, I want to get just talk a little bit of NBA. I know you guys been discussing Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. Um, whose side are you on in that one?
It flip flops.
Yeah.
I think for me, watching this whole thing play out, Jimmy's comments in the summer about, if he was healthy, they could have beat the Celtics or Knicks. And for me, always being pro athlete, pro player empowerment, Pat Riley told him to keep his mouth shut. There's just words you hear, like, and we have to operate in corporate spaces and we have to move a certain way, but we will snap at times. Like, there's
It's
phrasings that
triggers. It's
there's
triggers.
sure there's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
motherfucker, shut what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just like, yeah,
2 finals with these rosters?
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, all the shit I've done here, like, you're not gonna reward me for that. And to Pat Riley, the Godfather, he'd have never been that type of franchise. So it's like, if D Wade ain't getting that, you think you're gonna get it? Like, let's just keep it a buck. But seeing that, but also, Jimmy at times has a tendency to troll, has a tendency to go a little bit too far. And I think this has happened now at several different stops that he's been in throughout his career. So you have to see both sides, but also have to recognize that this is a dude who took these rosters to 2 NBA finals, right? One in the bubble, one recently against the Nuggets. And if he's asking you, hey, build this roster up, I want to be competitive. You got a guy who wants to win, and you're not getting that done. You strike out on Dame, you strike out on Drew Holiday, some of the other names have been out there. There comes a point where this is a league that's based on player empowerment. And the way that my contract is structured right now, I have a player option at the end of this season, so I can force your hand because I can either opt in and y'all want to bench me and suspend me indefinitely or whatever. Cool. Like, I'm gonna opt in, figure it out. Like, I'm gonna win this, but I got 52 mil coming. So at the end of the day, like, if I got 52 mil coming and this is the bullshit you're trying to pull, like, I can do that. But there is times too where it's like, I wonder from the team side, like, as growing up, and this is the thing I don't think a lot of people grasp. When you're playing team sports as a kid, youth sports as a kid, there's not money involved. It's not business, right? Like, you're all playing for love of the game to attain a certain goal. Now, when business gets involved, it's a lot different, especially talking about millions and millions of dollars. Dudes in the twilight of their career, this may be the last contract that they're able to get, and they don't feel like they're getting the love from the franchise. And this is a discussion that I've had with Gil as well, because it impacts legacy. It impacts how you talk about these dudes. You talk about the GOAT debates and things like that. And Gil is always more leaned toward the side of individual accolades, because it's like, you might be a great individual player that's hamstrung from being on a bad team that's beyond your control. You may have a franchise that's in tank mode or whatever it is, but the average fan don't care about that. You get the blame for it.
Yeah, because it's your face. Because Pat Riley, they just see the cameras showing him in the stands. Like,
Yeah,
he doesn't have to be accountable to the media after every game,
yeah.
but the star player does. And so it's much easier to point the dagger at the guy who has to answer some level of questions before the public.
And you talk about like load management. You look at somebody like Kawhi.
Yeah.
People that know Kawhi works his ass off. Kawhi don't want to be injured. Like, he wants to be out there playing. And a lot of times it ain't Kawhi saying, I don't want to play back to backs. I don't want to play tonight. It's the team trying to protect their investment, but the team is happy to let him eat all the shit for it. The team ain't gonna step in like, no, we're the ones making him do it. Like, they want just the average consumer to be like, oh, he's lazy, or he don't love the game or whatever. So there's so much now working with all these people and kind of getting their perspective, what these guys do to be able to go out there and perform at the highest level. And for the longest time, it was kind of like, you guys should just be happy to be here type of situation, instead of, well, if we're not here, this product's not good and you're not gonna watch the shit. So for me, looking at Jimmy, I kind of toil on both sides, because I think about that team component. Like, you got guys that ultimately are dealing with this that have nothing to do with it. I think about a guy like
And
Kevin
they're
Love.
depending on you, and their livelihoods are caught up into what you're doing. So there's the other part of it. I mean, I think both of them at various points it's looked very unbecoming for both of them,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, at the end of the day, Jimmy, you're getting paid $50 million. I'm not. I do understand why you would be like, why should I
Yeah.
give it my all when
This is
this is what you're giving me to work with?
exactly.
So they're both of them are right. It's just the way that it's played out. I think has made them both look bad at different points. I don't think Jimmy's gonna be there that much longer any damn way, so it doesn't really matter. Right?
And the other problem that happens now is teams do like, oh, we want this deal or that deal, and there's so much bullshit and BS that goes on from different sides as they use their various media channels to paint the other side in a bad light. It's like, at the end of the day, he, like, either you're not. This is something we talked about on the show. Is like, you got to send him home. Like, so this bullshit about let him come play or whatever. Why? Like, you already know what it's going to be and what time he's going to be on, and you already know what time you're on. So get a deal done, send him home. But then, oh, well, we're going to make him play, and he's going, okay, we've seen this
That
before.
does no one any good.
So get the trade done. You have to take a little bit less than what you wanted, but ultimately now you'll be able to move on as a franchise, and he'll be able to move on as a player and go somewhere he actually wants to be, and you can bring players in that actually want to be there.
What did you make of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver talking about how much he favors 10-minute quarters?
He never hooped before.
And I thought it was a little like, huh? If he'd have said less games, I'd be like, yes. But I know that won't happen. But at any rate,
the bread is still coming in. So whatever you're talking about, like people complain about it. People watch our
I
show.
mean, do you buy into that though? That there is some there's a legitimate ratings problems. Like I know the ratings have rebounded from where they were earlier
Yeah,
in the season, but like, do you buy that? Like, there is some part of this NBA product that is now distasteful for fans.
I think people need to adjust to the times, right? When I was growing up, we had TV. That was the only way that we could watch games. I have little brothers who can watch something on their TV, can watch something on their phone, and some on their computer, all three in unison, and know everything that's going on all three things. And I'm just sitting here looking like, how do you know what's going on there and there and boom? So people consume media different. Consumption happens to kids. Like I said, all my kids I coach in high school, they talk TikTok. I'm not on TikTok,
Right.
but they see all the shit from the show on TikTok. I don't know how they see it. I don't know what clips they're watching or whatever. So we have to just kind of shift. And again, like I said, if you're signing that deal, now what would be scary is if like, oh, the deal went down, the numbers went down, the bread went down. You got players earning more money than ever before. I do at the highest level, I respect those guys for getting their bag. But then you look at guys at the lowest level, like hopefully their bread can come up to it. It has been a huge seismic shift from the guys at the top taking all the bread and kind of the rest of the league kind of left to squander. But at the end of the day, those are the guys who make decisions. We see it in the country as it is right now. You got the most bread. We're doing everything. We're falling in line with what you want. And that's just what it is. Like, like we're basically being controlled by oligarchs and billionaires now. Billionaire says, hey, we don't need all these FAA people and we don't need all this and that. That's just what it is. Some fucks up. Oh, it was diversity's fault. Huh?
Right. Yeah.
Everybody was white. What? But yeah, it could have been.
Although, listening to Gil, because you talked about how other shows use the clip I used, I did a whole thing about the state of American basketball on this show, is him saying they need to kick the foreigners out the game.
But he was just saying that, and Gil, like, like he tries to get a rise out of people.
Yes, I understood the point he was trying to make, but to that point is that like it has become a more European style of game.
Yeah.
Like there's no question about it that it has become that. I don't know. We can't kick all the foreigners out the game, obviously, but there is a larger commentary about what the state of American basketball actually is.
And they talk that shit, and I got to live in Italy as a kid and see how those programs work. I think we can do a lot at the grassroots level to improve these things.
Well, you're a youth coach, so you see.
And I'm doing it right now. And like we're
it.
getting, believe me, Coach J is my nickname. We're gonna get you right. Like we're gonna approach it, but yeah, you see what those guys come up with. But it is a global game. You talk about, and back to the viewership thing real quick. China, they're what, like 400 or 500 million people are watching the NBA. So the NBA has, we talk about who's going to be the next face or whatever. Yeah, there's an American demographic because this is the home nation of the sport, if you will. But this is a global game. So at the end of the day, and I always make this point to people, like if you're making $1 billion in China and $0 in America, that's still $1 billion. Like I'm not tripping. Yeah, I mean, I wish I was making more bread out here, but I'll take that billion over here and still live the life that I want to live. So ultimately, you want everybody to be watching, but it's not like this isn't the second or third biggest sport on the planet, right? You don't have hundreds of millions of people playing this sport because you're not doing a good enough job promoting it. But those are things that I think the league is going to need to address. And back to the Adam Silver thing, like you cut it from 12 minutes to 10 minutes. Now, what happens to those, the 10th, 11th, 12th guy on that roster? Because the superstars are still playing the same amount of minutes. Like we ain't coming off of any of these minutes. And you're looking at the Olympics and all that, and we want a 2-hour window. It's like,
but I don't think pace of the game is what people have a problem with. Like baseball, it was a pace issue for a long time, and they've done a bunch of different things.
Hey, the pitch clock. I go to Dodgers games now. Hey, I love it.
That's what I'm saying.
I enjoy it.
They had that problem. Pace is not the issue in the NBA. I think it's just the 3-point, the amount of 3-point shooting is wearing on people.
Yeah.
But I think that ebbs and flows. Like
there's too many broke ass jumpers taking threes. I will say that.
A lot.
Like everybody don't get to shoot threes.
I mean,
and I tell kids at every level.
Positions, all y'all and as somebody who, much like you, grew up watching basketball a certain way, man, it drives me crazy when it's a 3-on-1. We right at the hoop and you kick it out. Like it just drives me fucking crazy.
And a lot of people will blame Steph for that. And this is what I would say. Yes, you have to blame Steph, but you have to blame the people that are trying to follow in Steph's footsteps because I've seen Steph work out.
Yeah.
I've seen the amount of work he puts in. We were in Baltimore. We got to interview him. He was doing an Under Armour thing. And this was a workout he was doing for the general public, 30, 45 minutes, got about 300 shots up, but just not stopping, intense. And then he went and did a 2-hour workout after that. Like, but you don't put that work in.
Right. And
So
you want to chuck the same amount.
because I see it at the lower levels
Yeah.
now, and it's like, you are not Steph.
Right.
I know you've seen it, just like I'm not MJ. I can wear the knee brace and I can wear the armband. I'm not dunking from the free throw line. So get your ass in the post and go hit them with these jump hooks real quick. But so that's the ultimate, because they blame Steph, and like you blame Steph because that's the pinnacle, that's what everybody wants to get to. But the reality is you don't put the work in. So if you're not putting the work in like Steph, go get your ass inside this 3-point line and get an easier bucket.
Yeah, I know. God bless RIP to the mid range game. Unfortunately, these guys only know either dunk or shoot a three.
Shout out Giannis though, he keeping it.
Yes.
Giannis said,
Still,
I ain't fucking with none of these threes.
You're giving me hope. All right. Well, final question is the question, or I should say, the final question is usually what I call the messy question.
Okay.
It's the question we're gonna get in some trouble, Josiah. Here we go.
Well, all right. Well, I get in trouble every day,
All right,
so it's all good.
like, now I feel like this will not even remotely come close to the trouble you get in on a daily basis when you do Gils Arena. My messy question is this: of all of your wonderful, co-stars on your show on Gils Arena, who consistently makes the least amount of sense?
I'm gonna say Swaggy, but I know a lot of people will say Rashad McCants, aka Cemetery Larry. But Rashad, if you really listen to what he's saying, it's like, okay, like Swaggy, like he will tweet some shit, and it's like, we'll have to talk about this on the show, and I don't know how you defend this, but he just like stream of thought tweeting, and he'll go out there. But it's funny, like for me, I know all their personalities and that dynamic so well, so all that shit makes sense to me. And me and Gil talk about this a lot at a high level. You need that, right? That's what makes a show good. You can't have everybody on the show agreeing with each other or saying the same thing. People pretend like they want that, they're not gonna watch. Like you need, again, the Joker to Gil's Batman.
But you need a shit stirrer. I mean, it just is what it is.
And we're closer to now WWE, because I will watch in real time. Two people will be beefing. Somebody will join in and tag team the one person, but then switch up midway, and then they'll start tag teaming the other person. Somebody else will jump in and come in. It's like Royal Rumbles. So it's crazy to watch it in real time, because all it takes is a sentence or a word or a thought or whatever. And it's like, wait a minute, and then they just go at each other. But you're trying to get me in trouble. That is a very messy question. I did a very political job of steering away from it. Did answer it though.
Damn it, Josiah.
I've been watching a lot of CNN lately, so I know how to. Word salad is now my specialty.
Oh, okay. Well, you did a good job. And before I forget, want to mention Memes and Nightmares.
Yep. Yeah. I just want to tell the people, so Memes and Nightmares coming out on Hulu is a project I did with Spring Hill, Anscape, and Starry. Shout out to PepsiCo, purveyor of delicious beverages. But you actually made a cameo. Oh, wow. I'm getting
sell that product.
I'm getting my marketing bag right. Look, all right, look, people. I just want you guys to know sometimes you're gonna have to do some marketing stuff. And you really better do your best to do it.
Right.
All right. I like beverages. Pepsi has a
wide
array.
You did not ask my opinion before I asked you that question. Starry is legitimate.
And if Starry's gonna listen to this and be like, yes, we are, and they are. I appreciate all the beverages you sent to the crib. But yeah, so we did a film, just kind of taking a deep look at sports media culture, basketball media culture, really NBA Twitter, back when Twitter was Twitter, and now whatever it is, but just the impact that it has at every level of human being. You look at myself, I'm kind of a testament to what NBA Twitter has been able to provide. Was just a dude out there, meme boy or whatever people wanted to call it. And now I'm literally hosting a TV show with Gilbert Arenas, or hosting a show with Gilbert Arenas on digital platforms. But so many people I know in that space that have been able to leverage social to create opportunities for themselves, create jobs for themselves. And this is the future, the frontier. And you were kind enough to make a cameo in the project. Yeah. So when you reached out to me to do this, you were like, yo, we can do Zoom. I'm like, no, fuck that. You came and pulled up and did my thing. You ain't do no Zoom for that shit. You took time out of your schedule. So I'm going to come over the hill. Yeah. Just non-traffic hour, please. Right. We live in LA. So, depending on if it's noon or 4, that's like a, that could be a 40-minute drive or a 4-hour drive.
I would have never done that to you. That's why I was like, you just let me know what's your time windows, and I got you.
But I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to come on here. Again, that's Memes and Nightmares, coming out February 20th. It's Thursday, February 20th on Hulu. 20th,
yep. We will be locked and loaded.
We got a movie! Ah!
Yes, I know. I can't wait to see it. So happy for all of your success. And everybody keep watching Gils Arena. Thank you, Josiah.
Appreciate you.
All right.